Are you thinking about moving down by the bay in Virginia in the Northern Neck or Middle Peninsula? In today's video, I want to cover some of the things that a lot of folks don't talk about and a lot of times people don't think about until it's too late. Some of the things I'm going to cover are things that you just need to know the area. You need to hire a local realtor that knows the area and can help you avoid some of these problems. And who am I? My name is Josh. I am a local realtor. I'm with Bragg & Company Real Estate. If you're buying or selling a home in the Northern Neck or Middle Peninsula, I'd love to earn your business. I'll put my information below. But let's dive into this. I'm going to cover several things. Again, things that you need to maybe think about as you're looking at houses, considering the value of some of these houses. And I don't think any of these things are deal breakers. They're just things that you need to know to make sure that they're going to fit into your lifestyle, whether it's boating or other activities. If you're going to buy a home in this area, you need to understand some of these things. So let's first touch on one of the things that affects you big time, especially if a big storm comes through or if you need to purchase, say, flood insurance. And that is, some homes do require flood insurance. Does that mean that it's going to get flood every year? No, but it does mean you are going to be required when you purchase that home, especially if you're getting a loan, that it has flood insurance. Now, one of the things that surprises folks is not everywhere down here does require flood insurance. And sometimes I've seen it play a big role on whether or not someone purchases a home. I'm not saying that needs to be you. I think there are some amazing houses that are built elevated in flood zones, and some of these flood zones, I have seen them not flood in a very long time, even though they still require the insurance. Again, working with someone that knows all of those things plays a big role in all of this. And not all flood zones are created equal. We have different zoning, different risk areas. And a lot of times, especially if I'm showing a home in one of these areas, I will even bring a map so you can see where the zones start and stop and decide where that home is. It's not uncommon to buy a piece of land or a home where multiple of these zones can be in the same lot. So just be aware of that as you continue your search. Next, let's talk about a big thing that, especially if you are going to have a boat, that you need to make sure you're aware of, and that is the depth of the water at the home or the dock. So if you're going to extend the dock, obviously the further that dock goes out into the water, the depth could change the further you get from shore. And interesting enough, this can play a big role in the value of the home. It can play a big role in the interest in the home. I've seen some homes with very deep MLW, mean low water, and it basically is saying at mean low tide, what's the depth of where that boat will either be stored, maybe there's a boat lift, or it will be tied off, but just what is that depth at the dock? And another thing is sometimes it changes. So you may have a shoaled or controlled depth waterway that they're planning to dredge. And again, hiring someone local that knows those things could play a big role in that. Next, let's talk about the geographic areas, because sometimes when you're looking at a map, it can actually mislead you and make you think that you're close to towns, make you think that you're close to amenities or restaurants. And that map can be misleading because I've seen maps where it looks like you're very close. You're actually only a few miles from something, but to get there, to actually get in a car and drive there, you've got to go all the way around that waterway. You've got to find a bridge or a ferry. Yes, we do have ferries in our area. And yes, I've seen these things play a role in the value of that home. I've seen some very, very nice homes with a lot going for it, but maybe a little less interest because of where it's located and how close it is to some of these things we're talking about. In fact, I have taken car rides to places that took me an hour or more to get there, that if I had gotten in a boat and just went across that bit of water, I could have maybe been there in 5 or 10 minutes. It's not uncommon for folks in our firm to show houses by getting in a boat, by hopping in the boat, going for a ride, showing you what maybe that waterfront home looks like from the water, how to get there and how close it is to some of these things. How cool would it be to hop in your boat at your dock, go have dinner on a Saturday evening just to enjoy the sunset as you're getting back to your home? Another thing to consider in our area is the accessibility to things like the internet or cell phone service. So I have seen folks determine where they're going to live just based on these things, because maybe their job requires something, or they just simply don't want to feel like they're living off the grid. Another thing to consider is short-term rentals. So I have seen folks decide whether they're going to buy a piece of property, if you're even allowed to short-term rental that property on Airbnb or some of the other websites. Or I've seen some folks decide whether or not they want to purchase a piece of property because properties next to it are being used for short-term rentals. One thing's for sure, our area gets more populated in the summertime. And again, I'm not saying you should avoid these things. I'm saying you should consider them when you are purchasing a home. Do you want deep water at your home? Do you want to be close to certain things? Do you want to live a certain lifestyle when maybe you would live a different lifestyle at a different property? And then finally, when we're talking about distance to things, I think there are certain amenities that folks consider when they're looking at homes. So if you're going to be close to the hospital that we have here in the Northern Neck, or how close are you to, say, the airport in Richmond? Simply buying a home in this area of the Northern Neck versus that area could play a big role in how long your commute would be. These are some of the questions that a good real estate agent should be asking you. Whether you hire me or someone else in our area, I always recommend folks, make sure you stay local. Make sure you have somebody that's looking out for your best interests, and make sure you're having someone ask some tough questions. Let me know your thoughts. Have you looked for a home in this area or sold a home, and some of these things play a role in the value of the home? I'd love to hear about that down in the comment section. If you like this video, I think you'll like this one too. It's where I talk about an interesting neighborhood in Irvington, Virginia. Thanks for watching. Hit that subscribe button for more Down by the Bay. We'll see you next time.